Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball.
Tuesday, May 19th at 10:30 a.m., it's morning baseball. Wednesday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m., have a pawsome time at Bark in the Park. Thursday, May 21st at 6:30, it's Pride Night with $5 Bud or Bud Light draft beer. Individual game tickets start at just $12.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
So, people are living longer than ever before, and they're living better. We know so much about health. The medicine has gotten better. We take better care of ourselves, and the technology and the rest. There's a fascinating company, right, that will help you. Well, you're going to live longer than you think. Almost all of us are going to live longer than we think. And what are our financial options when we have a life expectancy maybe that we're at the present moment not expecting? Jay Jackson is the chairman and CEO of Abacus Global Management, here to discuss finances and longevity. It's really, truly fascinating. AbacusGM.com. AbacusGM.com. Abacus, like the Asian calculator, okay? Jay Jackson, welcome back. How are you, sir?
I am awesome. Thank you, Greg. I'm glad to be here.
A big component of your job is determining, with all the data you have, all the profile, all the stuff, how long somebody's going to live. And do me a favor, just tell me, when you go in there, most of the time, you tell somebody you're going to live to be blank age, we suspect, based on the data. What is their reaction?
Almost 100% of the time, Greg, the initial reaction is not what you would expect it to be. And most of the time because there's an underlying fear associated with what they think that number is. And the first thing I tell everyone is, first and foremost, lifespan isn't a direct line. It's an arc of probabilities. And this is just the highest probabilistic outcome based upon where you are today, medically, demographically, genetically. And because of that, people kind of look at this as, it's just a final date. But I will tell you that 100% of the time, nearly 100% of the time, the response is almost always, no way I'm going to live that long. And, my response is always, first, that was kind of shocking when I heard that. And then I come back to them and I said, we're having changes in medical technology that can impact that. And why would they respond that way? And I think that that's the bigger question, right? Why would somebody who's 80 then say, gosh, I don't want to live that long? And I think generally it's due to the fact that they don't feel good. Right? They're like, gosh, man, I'm barely getting by now, not financially, but health-wise. And another 7 or 8 or maybe longer years does not feel very appealing. And I think what's really interesting that Abacus does is that we give you that data back. We share that data with you so that you can make changes, right? There are simple things you can do to feel better, maybe not improve the end number, but improve the route to getting there.
So, all right. Now, for people who are retired, there are big components, right, to retirement, and call it Medicare, Social Security, and, long-term care, which we may need. How does longevity, like the data, the numbers, actually give you an edge in when you're modeling all of these variables for your clients? I mean, I imagine it's a very powerful piece of information to have. How do you actually employ it?
It's massive. It's super important because think about it, right? Everyone wants to have an edge or information related to a company or how they make a financial decision. Here you're going to be faced with some of the biggest financial decisions you can possibly make, particularly as you approach retirement. As you brought up, Medicare, Social Security, long-term care. So many people are making decisions to potentially defer their Social Security. My premise is always, what went into that decision? Was it because you thought or felt like, oh, man, I think I can live a little bit longer here to 72 and I'll wait to get 100%? Why wouldn't you pull all your medical files, have an actuary review it? A group like ours at Abacus can actually give you feedback and say something like, hey, your probabilistic outcome might be 12 years. And if that's true, then you should start taking Social Security right now. That's how valuable that data is, because the most important asset you have, right, is time. And why on earth wouldn't you spend a little bit more on understanding what that time is and placing a higher value on it? Because it's going to have a huge impact. What we do know is that things like long-term care can be as much as 50% of your total savings the last 4 years of your life. What if you could cut that number in half, Greg? That just means that, hey, your health span is a little bit better and you've got all that additional savings that you can pass on to your spouse or your estate. Like, those are the simple decisions, though, that we should be thinking about. And the fact that the number one thing we're not addressing is how long you're going to be in retirement.
So when you go into Abacus, if we were to have a meeting with you or one of your deputies, one of your people, how does it actually go down? What does it look like? What is that meeting? What does it entail?
First thing you got to do is we want to be able to give you information so you can make an informed decision. Step one is you're going to sign a HIPAA, and we're going to pull all your updated medical files. It's crazy to me that most people in the United States don't have a copy of their medical files, and it's what's the tragedy is that the number one cause of death in emergency rooms is misdiagnosis. It's when you start to think about those things, the impact that has, right? If we just give you your medical files, we could have potentially save something that next time you go to the emergency room if you just had them. But the first thing we do is we acquire all your medical files for you, which we then share with you. And then we compare you to every other person out there in the United States who's had a mortality experience with the same types of impairments. That produces a probabilistic outcome that says, hey, the highest probability of mortality outcome is X. And that's step one. Now, what's beautiful is that we use our data. We use very large processing models so that we can access this data very, very quickly. We can process it now in literally a few minutes, thousands of pages of medical files. The technology is really advancing here to really help improve outcomes for people because, again, if the number one fear is running out of money in retirement, what we want to assess first is how long you're probabilistically going to be in retirement. And having that conversation up front will then dictate how you should be investing, what you should be doing with Social Security, what you should be doing with your estate planning. It's just such a key component that no one's talking about right now.
And one of the things, like these little interesting pieces of data that you put together, like there are very few very tall people, like 6'3" and over, who make it like well into their 90s. If I look around and I see, I have a cousin who's 100. I literally have a cousin, my wife's cousin is 100. He's about 5'5". And there's a core, like many tall people just don't make it into their mid 90s, do they?
That's exactly right. We run on a different engine. I'll tell you, I'm almost 6'6". And I received my own personal financial plan from one of the largest investment banks out there, right? Very large private wealth manager. And they ran my investment thesis out to age 95. And I had to pause and say, you realize there's never been someone over 6'4" reach age 95, right? Ever? Like, what are we doing? Why on earth are we having this conversation? There's only been, right now, it looks like there's 3 notable people over 6 foot tall, Dick Van Dyke being probably the most famous and most current, that have ever reached 100, right? Meaning that over 6 foot tall and 100 is a crazy anomaly. And therefore, yes, we are going to live a little bit longer than what we think, but we're not living forever, Greg. And we need to understand that when we're doing these models, these impacts are going to have a material impact to your financial plan. And that's what Abacus helps people understand.
All right. So, by the way, when it comes to settlements and life insurance, someone can sell a policy, right? Someone sells a policy and then that's it. It's like a one and done thing. But it's different from you guys. It's different with you guys. This is it's not one consultation and then you're off to the races and I'm going to live to be 96 or 87 or 69. No, it's a relationship, right?
That's right. What we have is now we've shared information that can help really improve outcomes. A life insurance policy is a piece to this where we say, why would you just simply let your life insurance policy go? Now that you understand the remaining term of that policy, it has real market value. Whether you sell it or keep it, understand at least what the current market value is. Abacus paid out almost $250 million to people across the United States last year just for their insurance contracts. But our premise is much more than that. Let's look at that $250 million and see how that investment could be more suitable for those clients based upon the understanding of what their lifespan is actually going to be. So, it's a unique model in the sense that most people are struggling where to put their money when they're in retirement. And here we have a solution in the sense that first and foremost, let's figure out how long you're going to be in retirement. And then that then dictates the products. And so, we're sitting in a fortunate position to have the data that AI can't replace.
Abacus Global Management. Go to Abacus, which is spelled ABACUS, Abacus Global Management, abacusgm.com, okay? abacusgm.com. And you can check them out on the New York Stock Exchange, publicly traded. The ticker symbol is ABX. Jay Jackson is the chairman and CEO of Abacus Global Management. What is the coolest thing about being the chairman and CEO? I've always had that dream. Must be awesome.
I get to do calls like this. This is for sure the pinnacle for me, Greg. Like, being able to meet people like you and your audience, seriously, it gives such an amazing platform to be able to share the unique things that we're doing and having such a huge change in financial planning. This is where it's at. This is as good as it gets.
Oh, well, all right. Enjoy the view. Jay Jackson, we appreciate it so much. And congratulations on the success that you've generated and the success for all of your clients and customers. Everybody should go to abacusgm.com, abacusgm.com. Jay Jackson, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Greg.